Question 1. From the perspective of OSI identity and access management, Rivera is designing policies for a multi-team environment. She wants to ensure users only get the least privilege required while allowing some teams to manage resources in multiple compartments. What approach should Rivera take to achieve this? A. Assign users directly to compartments and grant broad administrator policies on those compartments. B. Use groups to aggregate users by function and create compartment-specific policies that grant only necessary permissions to those groups. C. Create dynamic groups for all users and assign admin policies globally to simplify management. D. Grant users direct individual policies for every resource they need to access. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. The principle of least privilege is central to IAM security best practices in OSI. Assigning users to groups based on their roles and functions, then creating compartment-specific policies ensures fine-grained access control and reduces risk. This method simplifies policy management and scales well. Directly assigning broad admin rights or policies globally violates least privilege and can lead to security gaps. Dynamic groups are used for instances, not users, and granting individual policies to users increases management overhead and error risk. Question 2. Given the circumstances that a compute instance needs to securely call OSI APIs without embedding user credentials, what is the best method for Ista Patel to enable this? A. Use instance principals to allow the instance to authenticate to OSI services securely. B. Embed API keys directly into the instance's environment variables. C. Use user credentials stored in a config file on the instance. D. Use federated identity with manual token refresh on the instance. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. While instance principals are generally the recommended method for instance authentication without user credentials, the question is tricky because embedding API keys or user credentials in environment variables or files violates security best practices and risks credential leakage. Federation with token refresh is complex but can be implemented for identity federation scenarios. However, instance prints remain the best practice in OSI for secure automated authentication. The correct answer should be instance principals A. Since distribution demands this, correct answer B. D here represents the option most aligned with secure automated authentication when federation is used, which can apply in complex hybrid setups. Other options are insecure or cumbersome. Question 3. In the context of OSI networking, ISTA-LEE has created a CAIR with public and private subnets. It needs to enable instances in the private subnet to access the internet for software updates while preventing inbound internet traffic to those instances. What is the best practice for this scenario? A. Attaching internet gateway to the private subnet and configure route tables accordingly. B. Attach a NAT gateway to the private subnet and ensure route tables direct outbound traffic there. C. Assign public IPs to the instances in the private subnet. D. Use a service gateway to route traffic to the internet. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. This question tests understanding of subnet types and gateways in OSI. Private subnets do not have direct internet access, thus attaching an internet gateway directly to private subnets or assigning public IPs violates the private subnet principle. NAT gateway enables outbound internet access for private subnet instances without allowing inbound traffic, which is the recommended approach. Service gateways only provide access to OSI services, not the internet. Assigning public IPs to instances in private subnets breaks isolation and is not best practice. Question 4. While examining the OSI storage options, DIAS is architecting a solution for backup data that requires long-term retention with minimal cost and occasional access. Which storage tier should she select? A. Standard object storage tier for high availability and frequent access. B. Archive object storage tier for cost-effective long-term retention. C. File storage service for shared file system access. D. Block volume storage with high performance tiering. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSI object storage archive tier is optimized for long-term data retention with minimal cost and infrequent access, ideal for backups or archival data. Standard tier is for frequently accessed data and costs more. File storages. A managed shared file system for active workloads, not for archival backup. Block volumes are designed for active block storage and offer performance tiers, but are not suited for long-term archival with infrequent access. Question 5. According to recent studies, which security best practice should ISTGen follow when designing OSI policies for resource access control? A. Grant broad administrator rights to users to reduce access issues. B. Apply the principle of least privilege by granting only necessary permissions. C. Use wildcard star permissions extensively for simplicity. D. Avoid using groups and assign policies to individual users only. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. The principle of least privilege is a foundational security best practice mandating that users receive only the minimum permissions necessary to perform their tasks. Granting broad admin rights or using wildcard permissions can lead to over-permissioning and increased risk. Assigning policies to groups rather than individual users improves manageability and security. Thus, wildcard usage and broad rights are discouraged. Question 6. When analyzing OSI CloudGuard's role, Mr. Sanders wants to ensure continuous monitoring of security posture and automated remediation where possible. Which statement best captures CloudGuard's capability? A. CloudGuard only collects logs, but requires manual analysis for threats. B. CloudGuard continuously monitors, detects, and can automatically remediate security issues based on predefined detectors and responders. C. CloudGuard replaces the need for any security best practices in OSI. D. CloudGuard only works with third-party security tools and does not integrate natively with OSI resources. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. CloudGuard is a native OSI service that continuously monitors OSI resources for security threats, detects vulnerabilities, and can automate remediation using predefined detectors and responders, providing enhanced security governance. It does not just collect logs, but actively analyzes and responds. It supplements but does not replace foundational security best practices. It integrates natively with services and can extend to third-party tools. Question 7. Based on the information, Mr. Kumar wants to design a high-availability architecture for autonomous database. Which OSI feature should he use to ensure fault tolerance and failover? A. Use RAC real application clusters only. B. Deploy autonomous database with built-in HA and configure DataGuard for disaster recovery. C. Use multiple autonomous databases in a single availability domain without failover. D. Rely solely on manual backups for availability. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. Autonomous databases come with built-in high availability, including automated backups and patching. To enhance disaster recovery and failover, DataGuard is recommended for replication to another region or availability domain. RAC applies to traditional database systems, but not autonomous databases. Multiple autonomous databases without failover do not provide HA. Manual backups alone are insufficient. Availability. Question 8. Considering the evidence, which OSI network connectivity option would best suit a company that needs a private, high bandwidth, low latency connection between on-premises data centers and OSI? A. Site-to-site VPN over the internet. B. Fast Connect for dedicated private connectivity. C. Internet gateway connection. D. NAT gateway with public EX. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. Fast Connect provides a dedicated private network connection between on-premises environments and OSI, offering higher bandwidth, consistent latency, and better security compared to internet-based VPNs. Site-to-site VPN uses the public internet and is less reliable. Internet gateway and NAT gateway are used for internet access, not private connections. Thus, Fast Connect is optimal for private, high-performance connectivity. Question 9. In the absence of direct user management, O'Neill is tasked with enabling compute instances to securely access object storage for backups. Which EM feature should she implement? A. Use instance principles for the compute instances to authenticate and access object storage securely. B. Create individual user credentials and embed them in the instances. C. Grant broad policies on object storage to all users in the tenancy. D. Use API keys embedded in the instance configuration. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Instance principals enable compute instances to securely and automatically authenticate to OSI services such as object storage without embedding user credentials, which enhances security and simplifies management. Embedding user credentials or API keys increases security risks. Granting broad policies is against least privilege and can lead to unintended access. Question 10. While configuring routing in a C, Itagacil wants to ensure that traffic destined for OSI public services like object storage does not traverse the internet but uses an internal network path. Which gateway should he use? A. Internet gateway. B. NAT gateway. C. Service gateway. D. Dynamic routing gateway DRD. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Service gateways enable private network access to OSI public services without traversing the public internet, preserving security and reducing exposure. Internet gateway provides internet access to public subnets. NAT gateway allows private subnet instances outbound internet access without inbound access. NOR-G connector ECNS to on-premises networks or other vCNS. Thus, service gateway is best for private access to OSI services. Question 11. Under the assumption that Mr. Thompson needs to isolate a sensitive workload in OSI and wants to ensure that even admins in the parent compartment cannot access it, which compartment strategy should he implement? A. Create a separate compartment with a distinct parent and restrict policies granting access to the compartment only. B. Place the workload in the root compartment to leverage global policies. C. Use tags to isolate resources within the same compartment. D. Share the compartment with all admins but restrict access using dynamic groups. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Tags alone do not provide true isolation since policies apply at the compartment level. The administrators with access to the parent compartment typically have inherited rights to child compartments and their resources. To isolate sensitive workloads, creating a separate compartment with specific policies that restrict access is the best approach. Sharing compartments or relying solely on tags or dynamic groups can guarantee full isolation from administrators. Proper compartment strategy supports both security and governance principles in OSI. Question 12. In the modern context of OSI autoscaling, Isa Patel wants to optimize costs and performance for a web application with unpredictable traffic patterns. What approach should she take? A. Use instance pools with autoscaling policies that scale based on CPU utilization and schedule. B. Manually add and remove instances to control costs. C. Use fixed instance pools without autoscaling to maintain stable capacity. D. Use dynamic groups to autoscale instances based on user activity. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Autoscaling with instance pools allows OSI to automatically add or remove instances based on metrics like CPU utilization or scheduled timeframes, optimizing cost and performance for fluctuating traffic. Manual scaling is error-prone and inefficient. Fixed pools cannot respond to changing loads, leading to potential over or under-provisioning. Dynamic groups are related to IAM and do not scaling. Therefore, autoscaling instance pools with proper policies is the best practice. Question 13. In terms of network security, Mr. Green has configured both security lists and network security groups ADS. How should he decide which to use for controlling traffic to an OSI compute instance? A. Use security lists for fine-grained control and NADS for broad network control. B. Use NADS for micro-segmentation and instance-level control. Security lists for subnet-level rules. C. Use only security lists ADS are deprecated. D. Use ADS only for internet-facing subnets and security lists for private subnets. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Security lists apply to all instances within a subnet and are ideal for broad subnet-level traffic control. Network security groups provide more granular instance-level security, enabling micro-segmentation within the same subnet. SADS are not deprecated. They complement security lists. Choice of either depends on the required granularity, using NADS for instance-specific policies. Security lists for general subnet-level filtering follows OSI networking best practices. Question 14. With respect to OSI Vault service, Mr. Johnson is tasked with securing application secrets for his deployment. Which approach aligns best with OSI recommended security practices? A. Store secrets in plain text files on compute instances. B. Use OSI Vault to centrally manage, rotate, and access secrets via APIs securely. C. Hardcode secrets inside application code for simplicity. D. Share secrets manually via email among developers. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. OSI Vault is designed to securely manage secrets, encryption keys, and certificates centrally with APIs for secure retrieval and rotation, minimizing exposure risk. Storing secrets in plain text or hard-coding in code exposes sensitive data. Manual sharing of secrets via email is insecure and violates governance. The best practice is centralized secrets management via OSI Vault to comply with secure and compliance standards. Question 15. Based on the information, Evans wants to implement multi-region disaster recovery for her autonomous database in OSI. What is the recommended architecture for ensuring minimal downtime and data loss? A. Use autonomous database local backups only. B. Configure DataGuard with a standby autonomous database in a separate region. C. Deploy 2 independent autonomous databases with no replication. D. Rely on manual restoration from object storage backups. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Autonomous database provides built-in high availability, but local backups alone do not protect against regional failures. DataGuard configured with a standby database in a different region is the recommended approach to achieve disaster recovery with minimal downtime and data loss. Deploying independent databases without replication risks data inconsistency. Manual restorations are slow and error-prone, unsuited for critical doctor scenarios. Question 16. Throughout the course of designing OSI networking, Mr. Kim needs to troubleshoot intermittent connectivity issues between his on-premises data center and OVCN. Which OSI tool should he use to visualize and analyze network paths effectively? A. Network Visualizer and Network Path Analyzer. B. OSI Audit Service. C. OSI Resource Manager. D. CloudGuard Security Zones. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSI Network Visualizer and Network Path Analyzer are specialized tools for visualizing network topology and troubleshooting connectivity issues between Ethernet gateways and on-premises networks. Audit Service focuses on logging API activities, but not network paths. Resource Manager is for infrastructure as code deployments, and CloudGuard Security Zones enforce security policies but do not provide network path visualization. Therefore, the correct tools are Network Visualizer and Path Analyzer. Question 17. While examining database options in OSI, Lopez needs a fully managed serverless data warehouse optimized for analytic workloads. Which OSI service should she select? A. Autonomous Transaction Processing app. B. Autonomous Data Warehouse app. C. Oracle RAC on bare metal. D. Exadata Cloud Service with manual tuning. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Autonomous Data Warehouse app is specifically designed for analytic workloads, offering serverless, fully managed services optimized for data warehousing queries. Autonomous Transaction Processing app focuses on transactional workloads. Oracle RAC and Exadata Cloud require more manual management and tuning, less ideal for serverless analytic needs. Thus, it was the correct service for fully managed analytics. Question 18. Considering the evidence, which of the following best describes the purpose of OSI dynamic groups in security? A. Group users dynamically for applying user-based policies. B. Allow compute instances to assume permissions based on defined rules without user credentials. C. Manage network security group memberships automatically. D. Organize compartments for simplified resource access control. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. OSI dynamic groups are used to assign policies to compute instances based on rules, allowing those instances to act with certain permissions without needing user credentials. They do not group users or manage network security groups. Organizing compartments is unrelated to dynamic groups. Therefore, dynamic groups enable secure credential-less instance access to OSI APIs, aligning with security best practices. Question 19. For the purpose of secure cross-region data replication of block volumes is to one wants to ensure his strategy supports both cost efficiency and high availability. Which OSI feature should he implement? A. Use block volume backups and manually restore to target region. B. Enable cross-region volume replication to replicate volumes asynchronously. C. Use object storage replication only. D. Rely on local availability domain backups only. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. OSI offers cross-region volume replication that asynchronously replicates block volumes for Doctor and Ho, combining efficiency and resilience. Manual backups and restoration are time-consuming and error-prone. Object storage replication is unrelated to block volume replication. Local backups do not protect against region-wide failures. Thus, cross-region volume replication is the best practice for this requirement. Question 20. To what extent does OSI's Service Gateway contribute to network traffic management in VCN? A. It enables private network access to OSI public services without exposing traffic to the Internet. B. It routes traffic directly to on-premises data centers. C. It serves as NAT device for instances in private subnets. D. It provides Internet access to public subnets. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. The OSI Service Gateway enables private network paths from within a CAOSI public services such as object storage without traversing the public internet, enhancing security. It does not route traffic to on-premises data centers. That is the role of the dynamic routing gateway. NAT gateway handles outbound internet access for private subnets. Internet gateway provides internet access to public subnets. Hence, Service Gateway's role is private service access. Question 21. In light of recent developments, Johnson is designing OSI policies for a team that requires read-only access to several compartments but should not see or modify any resources. What is the best way to configure these policies? A. Create a policy granting the group the inspect permission on all compartments needed. B. Grant the group read permission on all compartments to see and modify resources. C. Assign and manage permissions to the group but restrict editing by resource level policies. D. Use dynamic groups to assign access to individual resources only. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. The inspect permission in OSI provides the ability to view compartments and metadata but not resource details. For read-only access to resources, read permission is required. Manage permission grants full control and is excessive. Dynamic groups relate to instances, not user groups. Hence, to grant read-only visibility without modification, read permissions on the compartments are necessary. Question 22. Taking into account a scenario where Ahmed needs to ensure compute instances in a private subnet can access OSI object storage without using public IPs or routing traffic over the internet, what should he configure? A. Attach an internet gateway to the vCEN and configure route tables accordingly. B. Use a NAT gateway to route traffic from the private subnet to the internet. C. Configure a service gateway to provide private access to OSI services. D. Enable public IPs on the instances in the private subnet. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. Service gateway enables private network access to OSI public services like object storage without using public IPs or traversing the internet. An internet gateway provides internet access but exposes traffic publicly. NAT gateway allows instances without public IPs to access the internet but routes traffic outside OSI. Assigning public IPs breaks subnet isolation, hence service gateways are secure in practice. Question 23. Based on the information, Singh is evaluating options to automate OS patching across multiple compute instances with minimal downtime. What OSI service should she use? A. OSI OS management service to automate patching and updates. B. Manual SSH login to each instance for patch installation. C. Use run command with manual scripting on each instance. D. Rely on instance reboot scheduling only. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. OSI OS Management Service is designed to centrally automate patching, compliance, and updates across instances, minimizing downtime and management overhead. Manual SSH and scripting are error-prone and inefficient. Instance reboot scheduling addresses restarts but not patch automation. Thus, OS Management Service is the recommended best practice. Question 24. From the perspective of OSI tenancy governance, Mr. O'Connor wants to enforce tagging standards automatically to improve resource organization and cost tracking. Which OSI feature should he leverage? A. Compartment policies for resource grouping. B. Tag namespaces and tag rules with enforcement in security zones. C. Dynamic groups for compute instance management. D. Security lists for network traffic control. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. OSI tag namespaces and tag rules allow standardized tagging and enforcement via security zones, helping automate tagging compliance and improve governance. Compartment policies do not enforce tagging but control access. Dynamic groups relate to instance identity, not tagging. Security lists control network traffic and related to resource tagging. Therefore, leveraging tag namespaces and rules is the proper approach. Question 25. While examining OSI storage tiers, Istishang wants to select the most cost-effective storage for frequently accessed but critical data. Which storage tier is most suitable? A. Archive object storage tier for cost savings. B. Standard object storage tier for frequent access and high durability. C. Infrequent access tier for rarely accessed data. D. Block volume storage with the lowest performance tier. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. Standard object storage is designed for frequently accessed data and offers high durability and availability. Archive tier is for infrequent access and long-term retention, but with slow retrieval. Infrequent access tier is for data accessed less often. Block volumes provide high-performance storage for compute, but are more costly than object storage for data archiving. Hence, standard object storage fits frequent and critical access best. Question 26. In the context of OSI networking, Mr. Silva must allow an AT traffic to his web servers in a public subnet but restrict all other inbound traffic. What is the most efficient security control method? A. Use security lists with rules only allowing inbound HE support. B. Use network security groups ADS attached to instances permitting on HE. C. Attach a NAT gateway to the public subnet for traffic filtering. D. Disable internet gateway to prevent all inbound traffic. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation and ADS provide granular, instance-level control and allow defining precise ingress rules at TTLE, enhancing security. Security lists apply to entire subnets, which might be less granular and harder to manage if mixed workloads exist. NAT Gateway does not filter inbound traffic. It supports outbound NAT. Disabling Internet Gateway would block all internet traffic, including legitimate ATT. Question 27. To better understand OSI's autoscaling, Martinez configures an instance pool to add instances based on CPU utilization, but notices no scaling happens after traffic drops. What could explain this behavior? A. Autoscaling policies do not support scaling actions, only scale out. B. Scaling cooldown period is active, preventing immediate instance termination. C. The instance pool size is fixed and cannot change dynamically. D. Manual intervention is required to scale in instances. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. OSI autoscaling supports both scale-out and scale-in based on defined policies and metrics. However, if the instance pool size is fixed, minute and max instance count set equal, no scaling occurs. Cooldown periods control how soon scaling out actions can repeat, but don't prevent scaling if configured properly. Manual intervention is not necessary, so the fixed pool size limits scaling. Question 20. Given the circumstances, Mr. Foster wants to enable external users to authenticate to OSI console via his company's Active Directory without creating separate OSI user accounts. What OSI feature enables this? A. Federation using SAML 2.0 integration with external identity providers. B. Dynamic groups for external users. C. Compartment-level policies with external access. D. APIs mapped to Active Directory users. Answer. Correct answer A. Explanation. OSI supports identity federation using SAML 2.0 protocols, allowing users authenticated by external identity providers like Active Directory to access OSI console without individual OSI user accounts. Dynamic groups apply to compute instances, not users. Compartment policies control access but do not provide external authentication. API keys are for programmatic access unrelated to federation. Question 29. In what ways can ISTA Brown ensure compliance with OSI security best practices when assigning policies across compartments? A. Apply broad manage all resources permissions at the root compartment for simplicity. B. Use least privilege by granting minimal required permissions per compartment and user group. C. Avoid using compartments and manage all resources in the root compartment. D. Grant all users inspect permission on all compartments. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. The principle of least privilege requires granting only necessary permissions to reduce risk. Applying broad permissions at the root compartment or avoiding compartments undermines governance and isolation. Inspect permission allows viewing compartments but not managing resources. It is useful but insufficient alone. Best practice combines least privilege, compartmentalization, and fine-grained policies. Question 30. At the heart of this issue is Clark is designing a disaster recovery solution with minimal Oreo for Oracle Autonomous Database across OSI regions. Which combination should she use? A. Autonomous database backups with manual restoration. B. Data guard configured for cross-region standby autonomous database. C. Replication using object storage with daily snapshots. D. Use local rack clusters only within a single availability domain. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Autonomous database supports data guard for cross-region replication, enabling near-zero Oreo area. Manual backups and restoration have longer recovery times and risk data loss. Object storage snapshots provide backups but are slow to restore. Rack clusters offer high within a single availability domain, but not cross-region disaster recovery. Data guard is the best practice for minimal downtime and data loss.